accusations, totally political. Take a look.
I think he's afraid of the president of Russia.
Why?
Well, I think one can speculate as to why, that the Russians may have something on him personally. But the fact that he has had this fawning attitude toward Mr. Putin has not said anything negative about him. I think continues to say to me that he does have something to fear.
I think Mr. Putin is very clever in terms of playing to Mr. Trump's interest in being flattered. And also, I think Mr. Trump is, for whatever reason, either intimidated by Mr. Putin, afraid of what he could do or what might come out.
Here with reaction, she is the host of CRTV, her own show, of course, Michelle Malkin. And by the way, it's award-winning. And retired CIA senior intelligence officer, Fox News contributor Danielle Hoffman. Because this is about Brennan, I know more people that worked in your line of work that think he is the absolute worst director we've ever had. And this display of politics and his whatever involvement people we now see coming, his lying under oath like Clapper, people have had it that I know, FBI intelligence and of course, law enforcement.
I mean, his tweets today read like a partisan politician, not a nonpartisan, retired former director of CIA. And I would just highlight the contrast between Brennan's tweets and his unfounded allegations about the president's speculation that Vladimir Putin could blackmail President Trump. Contrast that with President Trump today at CIA headquarters, presiding over the swearing-in ceremony of Gina Haspel. He called CIA officers the most elite intelligence professionals on the planet.
She's a hero. To me, I thank God she got, just like Mike Pompeo. Thank God they did what they did. We never would have gotten bin Laden. Let me turn to you, Michelle Malkin, from your perspective. You see this abuse of power. You see this deep state corruption. And you're wondering, I'm sure as I am, how could this happen in this country? But it did, and it's now unraveling.
It did, and that is why people like John Brennan are behaving the way they are behaving, completely unhinged, as you say. I think that John Brennan is a bilious blabbermouth, bilious, full of bile, contempt, and spite, not just for our president, but for our country and for the American people who duly elected
I want to know what he knew and when. I want to know
exactly
what his involvement is.
And I think it's going to come out, and I think that's why he panicked over the weekend. And I think that there is a small difference between being a spook, a partisan spook for Obama, and being a crook, and that he is definitely I think, cringing in the spotlight. I think that Daniel Hoffman was right, too, when he observed that the kind of comments that he has made publicly about President Trump aren't just something that harm the White House, but harm all of the good people within the CIA who are trying to do their jobs as this man is self-aggrandizing.
So
and
true.
you see the psychological projection here of John Brennan using words like self-adoring and self-serving to describe our president when he's describing himself. I mean, if this guy had done his job during the Obama administration, we wouldn't have had all of the bungles that John Brennan was entangled in. Everything from helping design the lies about the Benghazi video, bungling the investigation of the the Fast and Furious, the Christmas the underwear bomber, and then even going so far as to downplaying recidivism of the Gitmo terrorists and being soft on jihad. The fact is that these guys have been so invested in their ideological agenda and their partisanship that they were not doing their job in protecting Americans around the world and at home.
I mean this with all my heart. I've been and Michelle has too, the biggest defender of law enforcement my entire career. I want to remind people, this is not rank and file intelligence, CIA, FBI. This is not, in any way, shape, manner, or form. It's the upper echelon and DOJ.
Hey, John Brennan is doing Vladimir Putin's bidding. And for someone who has criticized the Trump administration for the way they've handled Russia, even though the Trump administration has closed down Russian consulates in Seattle and San Francisco and kicked out 60 Russian officials, I mean, John Brennan is doing what Vladimir Putin wants by speculating about the president being subjected to blackmail, even though it's not true. And Brennan walked it back with the New York Times days after he said it. But the damage is done.
Damage is done. Last 15 seconds, Michelle.
you know, the biggest threat we face right now is the three-headed hydra of the police state, the deep state, and the fourth estate. All the incestuous relationships, the leaks, and the self-profiteering by people like John Brennan and his ilk.
All right, thank you both. Thank you so much. When we come back, Hillary Clinton unbelievably embarrassed herself. We'll show you next.